Jason, can you just talk about that first 10 minutes and what you felt was going wrong for you guys?
To me, it came down to just mental lapses. The first goal is off a throw-in, one or two passes later, and it's in the back of our net. Second goal, I think, comes off a long ball that's played to a forward and knocked down, and we don't win the second ball. And then crossed in, and I don't know what our marking's like in the box. I don't know that the cross had enough pressure on it. And so just mental lapse again, and then you're down 2 goals to a team that's very good defensively and works hard together, and kind of, I think always was going to come into this game trying to put a lot of numbers behind the ball, so it's difficult to break them down.
Jason, this team's typically very well composed, even after giving up a lead. Did you feel like they were tonight?
I think that they got a bit frantic and certainly a bit frustrated. I think in the second half, I'm pleased with the effort. I'm pleased with the fight. I don't think our guys, I don't think any of them out there quit. I think that they, tried to put everything they could into that game to get back into it. But we just came up a bit short in the quality department, I think, tonight.
How much did Olave's absence have to do with a lot of those defensive miscues early on?
I'm not so sure I could say that it caused a big difference. Obviously, you want to keep the fluidity of your back four, and I would have loved to have been able to play with the same back four that we played with last week, but with Olave's injury and Tony Beltran's slight injury, we just couldn't do that. So 2 of our back four were different, but for me, it wasn't the back four. It was the entire defensive effort and the entire focus and mentality in the first part of that game, because I really believe those were both mental errors and just a little bit of concentration and maybe a touch of commitment.
I'm not sure when you guys got the notification on Saborio.
You want me to make you sure?
Sure.
1 p.m. yesterday.
Okay. Does that
12? Practice was 11 to 12, and our meeting was about 12:30 to 12:45. So 12:45, right at the end of our meeting.
Does that kind of upset your approach to the game and have any impact on that?
Yeah, of course. As a coach, when you have a week in between games, you prepare. You spend a lot of time making sure the right guys are training together and with the right, everybody's on the right frame of mind and the right spots with each other, and to find out Friday at the end of our meeting, after I've already laid out the starting lineup and Sabo's name is on it, and we talk about where we want him running and positioning and everything else, and then to have our GM come in at the last minute and tell us, oh, by the way, Sabo's not going to play, it's not good enough in my opinion. It's not good enough from the league, and it's disrespectful to coaches.
Jason, Arturo Alvarez wears the number 10 jersey. He seems to have the skill set to play the classical number 10 role. What is preventing him from either playing that role or getting more playing time?
That's your opinion, not mine. I think Arturo is a gifted player, certainly, but I don't know that he actually, I know from talking to him that he doesn't feel comfortable in that spot, and I don't feel comfortable putting him there.
How did you feel about Gene's start at the forward position today?
Yeah, I mean, he got himself in some good spots, but wasn't able to put the finishing touch on it. The 2 chances that he had in the first half, if he scores those, we're probably having a different conversation right now, honestly and critically. But I thought he gave everything he had, did well to get himself in those spots, and just lacked a little bit of quality to make the difference for us. That's the life of a forward, and he's somebody that I think is still learning to play that position.
What did you say to the team at halftime, if you don't mind sharing that?
I do mind sharing it.
It seemed like Spindola had a little bit of overflow of emotions late in the game. You think that's just frustration with how the game evolved, or anything you can put your finger on?
Well, we know that Fabian's a very emotional player, and he was in particular, I thought, trying to make a real difference for us every time he got the ball tonight, was going at players and trying to get behind them and trying to make the final pass or make the goal, but it wasn't coming off for him, as it wasn't for a lot of the players. And so he runs a little bit hot and cold, as we said, and tonight at the end of the game he was very hot.
One more question and the locker room's open. Kyle.
It seemed like when the substitutes came in the second half, they brought some life to the offensive effort, and really in those last 20 minutes there was a lot of chances. Did you think about making those subs earlier at all?
Yeah, you know, when you get into halftime and you're down 2-0, you have to consider whether there needs to be a couple of changes. And you know, I think the easier way and what a lot of people would do is say, I'm going to make these changes because it needs to change now. For me, I was a little more interested to see what that group could do and how they would respond to that difficult circumstance after we get to settle them down and talk a little bit at halftime. And so I didn't want to make those changes at halftime, but made them, I think, fairly early.